It all started in my cabin in the snowy Alaskan wilderness in the winter of 2012. I was battling snowstorms and other challenges that wore me down to a whisper of my former physical self. But on one special evening, racked with back pain and a kettle of popcorn, a tiny note of good news emanated from a radio show about human health. The host revealed a phenomena called grounding, which purportedly has the capacity to eliminate pain and agony.
One of the most significant health discoveries of all time.
I couldn't wait to try it. All I had to do was connect with the earth. The next morning, all my pain was gone. The hard work that I was facing every day didn't even faze me anymore. I am a filmmaker, naturalist, and caretaker of orphaned wildlife, from caribou to wolverines to wolves to even grizzly bears. I wanted to sustain this pain-free experience, and of course, I couldn't possibly sleep under the house every night naked, so I decided to bring the earth energy right into the cabin by sticking a grounding rod in the earth and running a wire into the cabin and sleeping on something that was conductive. I slept deeper than ever before, and no pain. I had to share it with my helper, Rocky.
It's the everyday Joe that's going to need this more than the guys that's got millions of dollars.
And so I decided to help everybody I could that lived in my hometown of Haines.
I'm saying, Steve, that you should just take this thing and run with it and get it out to the public as fast as possible, to as many people as possible.
In this bag, this paper bag, is the answer to your problems with pain and sleep. Take this.
All right.
And it could start with you.
Okay.
That's for you. What happened after that was like something out of a Hollywood movie. Dave Orude hadn't moved his legs for nearly 3 decades. Everybody, and I mean everybody, had a result.
I have absolutely no pain in my back whatsoever.
Yes, he stopped snoring completely.
I used to not be able to just reach up.
Now, wait a minute. Is this just a power of suggestion, a placebo effect? Was it all in my head, New Age or some such? No. It's been around for as far back as the American Indians, well, heck, even further back than that. It was all the way back to the Stone Age. Everyone connected to the earth but us in modern times. My helper, Rocky, was finding more information about this grounding on the internet. He found this discourse between 2 celebrity doctors, Dr. Oz and Dr. Mercola.
It's because it's not simply walking barefoot. It's the devil's in the detail. It's walking barefoot on the earth. And the earth is a massive source of free electrons. And when you do that, these electrons go into your body.
This was Nobel Prize-winning stuff. I started at the top with attempted contacts. And then I met this medical doctor.
It's like no amount of Advil or Motrin or Aleve can do the anti-inflammatory power that the earth can.
I contacted that doctor. Her name was Laura, and she agreed to help me make a documentary film about this free healing modality. Forces of nature like avalanches, lightning, and even the gravitational pull of the moon give the earth a negative charge. And that's what our bodies need. So, what better way to start this film than to work with the men that walked on the moon?
We can talk a little bit more about what we're going to say.
I could say as a physician, I'm constantly, every single day, reconnecting patients to touch the earth as a way of healing.
The first interview was with the 6th man to walk the lunar surface, 80-something Edgar Mitchell. He got it. Barefoot for the camera, no problem.
You want to take a breather for a minute?
Yeah, let me just put the dipper so it's not flapping around.
Sure.
And he needs it.
And the lavalier, Mike.
Laura's daughter, Clara, was well aware what happened to folks in Alaska, so she gave Dr. Mitchell a little something to ground himself. Now it was time to shoot a piece with Charlie Duke, who helped steer Neil Armstrong to land on the moon. Charlie ultimately became the 10th man to walk on the moon's surface.
Well, what we're going to do is just walk down on the beach. Laura's going to ask the questions.
All this eventually ended up in the feature film The Grounded, which included experiences like this.
That's a grounding thing for ladies. She get her back because she can't get too well or she'll lose her disability.
The first 5 months of my pregnancy with Maya, I was extremely sick, and then I was introduced to this grounding. I took it home, and within the first night I noticed my back pain was gone.
In the movie The Grounded, I often became the devil's advocate. Therefore, if plants were grounded and ungrounded side by side, would they react like people? Yes. For example, these two fireweeds blew my mind. Not only did the grounded plant live longer, it continued to grow. Same with the sunflower trials. This all makes for good cinema, of course, but is this plant stuff replicated elsewhere? Yes, in numerous places.
When I first learned of this work through Dr. James Oshment, I saw its great potential, not just for health and healing, but the broader issue of us recognizing the beauty and the power and the importance of being connected to the earth.
Are you okay with being barefoot during this shot?
Oh, I heard.
Are you okay just for a few moments?
No, I'd rather not.
You'd rather not, okay.
His feet on the plant. The simple act of the baby's lips suckling on a mother's nipple sets off all kinds of hormone responses. So why wouldn't the contact with the earth through our feet have similar consequences biochemically, hormonally? There must be some kinds of effects of that, but that's only conjecture. I don't know.
Meanwhile, I searched high and low for skeptics, physicists that simply couldn't comprehend it. One science writer was very good at playing the villain for my little movie.
I can't say I've heard anyone say they have a health benefit.
Dave Oldroyd hadn't stepped out of his wheelchair in over 25 years.
And the doctor evaluated me, and he had nothing but a smile on his face. He said, "That's a miracle." I walked 30 feet today.
It was just before winter set in that I accompanied Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell on his way to Haines. I have to say, this guy is as brave and open-minded as he was over 40 years ago when he rocketed to the moon. I mean, to stay at my cabin, as opposed to something more ritzy, perhaps? Nonetheless, he's an explorer, and he wanted to learn.
Is this a wire that's connecting them?
Yeah, it's a wire and then there's a mesh, and it becomes really distinct over time. This poor little sunflower that's not connected starts to wither and wilt, and the one that's connected to the earth is still vibrant and strong. It seems to me when I look at this that the earth itself has this energy to give every living creature.
Well, it certainly would suggest that. Certainly would suggest that.
Yeah.
This is powerful stuff to look at, and then I really want to read the papers on it.
Yeah.
Find out more about it. It's there's something going on here that I want to know about.
Yeah.
And I think it's more profound, much more profound than what we're talking about here.
There are moments given to each of us that galvanize what we believe as truth, what speaks to our soul, what makes life interesting, to think for ourselves and outside the box.
It's such a privilege to be able to introduce to you Apollo 14 astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell.
Before he left town, he gave us a message of hope. It was a good night.
It's been what I have worked for since I came back from the moon, to help we as humans learn to live with each other and for each other, and to create for ourselves and our planet and our progeny a sustainable civilization.
I met a lot of intelligent health advocates with open minds. They all continued to pioneer the research and further the message from an empirical and scientific perspective about the, dare I say, miraculous health benefits of grounding.
You may know that penicillin was a revolution in medicine. This is a revolution in healthcare that I think transcends penicillin.
Never before in the history of humankind do we have to ground. And why do we need to ground now? Well, look, there's so many toxic frequencies out there, and it's going to lower our vibration. Grounding is the safest and the best way to raise our vibration, and we do that, we achieve optimum health.
Apart from all the doctors that concurred with what grounding can do for human health, this filmic journey was a grand adventure that continued on even into post-production. For example, I saw to it that the orchestra and the composer got a taste of connecting to the earth as well. Would it affect the musical score for this movie? I soon found out. As fun as producing a film like this was, the cold reality of distribution was a different matter. The movie critics were harsh. They're cynical. They're jaded. And so I spent tens of thousands of dollars of my own money to make a sequel. It had to be done. Too late to stop now. Audiences wanted it and demanded it.
Nature has a cure for everything. And that's what I learned going through my entire healing journey. And I had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to see every specialist that was out there, or clinic, or therapy, whatever it was.
The Eagle's Nest Motel in Haines was the first in the nation to offer a grounding room, or earthing room as it was called. By the time the sequel was made, the public demanded that all the rooms be grounded. And also there was the medical cannabis community that was now grounding their plants after seeing what happened with sunflowers. And then there was Laura, who helped commence the first film. She was busier than ever in radio, TV, and internet. And then I went to a retinal specialist to witness a groundbreaking test as to what happens to the retina before and after a patient is grounded for only 2 hours. All we did was put patches on the palms of the patient's hands and the bottom of his feet, and then ran a line out and stuck it in the earth right outside the clinic.
You're grounded.
What happened after 2 hours of waiting was shocking.
The macula actually looks better perfused post-grounding. I would tell you that's pretty neat, because usually when we see a distortion of the foveal avascular zone like this in diabetics, it gets progressively larger. You never see it shrink.
If this technology, which is basically free, can relieve pain better than any of the pharmaceuticals that are sold over the counter and that are this huge multi-billion dollar industry, you can see.
Even in Minnesota, where I grew up, all my neighbors tried this and got the same result as in Haines, Alaska. I kept traveling.
What percentage of your patients have a positive result with grounding resources or being grounded to the earth?
Easily 85 to 90%.
Laura, an MD, was the physician that never let up in helping see my efforts through.
Most of us have this.
What do we do in a place then like this? This is what we live in. What do we do?
Well, I think that there's a way for us to accept modern technology and in our society as it is, and also still make the time to touch Mother Earth and find ways to connect with her, even with this all around us.
So let me tell you a little bit about how I transitioned from living disconnected to the earth and not knowing I was disconnected to really embracing. I had my daughter. She's the one who taught me.
Laura's insights were confirmed when her daughter Clara, who had colic when she was a baby, would stop crying whenever Laura was outside barefoot. Laura's observations about what happened to Clara when she was grounded inspired her to be the author of the first book about grounding for children, called From the Ground Up. These movies are now seen around the world via television, DVDs, and internet video on demand. But the story continues on. The tagline for the first film, The Grounded, said it all in reference to Dave Orude. One small step for a man, one giant leap for healthcare. It could happen to you too.
So never, ever, ever think, I'm not gonna bother slipping off my shoe for a minute or touching this tree for a second because it's not long enough. That's not true, it's long enough. Instantaneous is long enough. Of course, the benefits continue to extend the longer you do it. And I want to go over the scientific literature to tell you exactly what you're doing when you're just connecting for a second and exactly what you're doing when you're connecting for years and years and years, okay? So let's just go over that right now. So your muscle tension immediately drops and is measurable on an electromyogram. So that is a measurable, noticeable, instantaneous change, as well as your ambient voltage of your entire body shifts, your EEG brain waves change, and your skin conductance. So that's instantaneous. So muscle, skin, brain, and also levels of pain are instantly shifted. Sustaining it for a few minutes in medical studies has shown to have an impact on your organ function and on your vasculature. So blood viscosity changes. So we're talking about this, now we're moving into studies that have gone on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, in the range of several minutes. So just within minutes, you've really affected your circulatory system and all of the end organs that are targeted by your circulatory system, because now you've increased circulation, you've increased blood viscosity, you've increased your respiratory rate, so you've increased oxygenation, and now you've stabilized your blood glucose. So you have an immediate change in the metabolic function of your entire body. Now let's look at studies that have gone into hours. So one night is all it takes to change your indicators of osteoporosis. It affects your bones at this point, all right, deep into your bones. You are affecting and changing your metabolic panel, so all of your electrolytes and your minerals, your calcium, your phosphorus, your potassium, your magnesium, even your iron levels change after just 1 8-hour session. So sleeping grounded for one night changes your osteoporosis indicators, which show that bone metabolism and growth is actually affected. The other thing that it affects now with just one night is thyroid function.